Hello, this is Dell and welcome to what you need to know about home studios for social media. In this episode, we are going to hook up the studio link or your teleconference link or your Zoom or your Skype or your GoTo or whatever you want to call it, your virtual meeting software into OBS. In this video, we're going to integrate Zoom and OBS. Now, you don't have to use Zoom. I have no particular affinity against or with Zoom. It's just what I use. You can use Skype, GoTo Meeting, Google Meets, any of these type of programs that are used to do a video conferencing. It works pretty good because all we're going to do to integrate the video is do a screen capture on the panel, on the LED panel that we run that program on. And for the audio, we've already discussed that in the preceding video where we set up the audio pipes or the virtual cables, if you will. They're audio devices, little software audio devices within Windows that we set up. Now, I avoid using the default anything, which is one of the reasons I went ahead and sprang the extra $5 for the other two cables. It gives me 5 in all. And I'm able then to give each one of them a name and dedicatedly use them for a specific function. I found that early on, when I changed software, a lot of things wanted to reset the default in the audio system, whether it be the default microphone or the default system response, whatever. It changed those things. So by using a specific named audio pipe or audio device or virtual cable, whichever way you want to call them, I'm able to avoid messing up my configuration with routine updates of other software and installations. Now, I have a program here as part of OBS, which is up here in the corner. It is the virtual camera. Now, I've not had much luck with virtual camera. I find that so many times either the Zoom or the OBS locks each other up fighting over the camera, even though the camera is only technically, I guess, installed in OBS, but OBS then makes copies in memory, and that's what it shares out. But at $69 for a webcam, it seems rather silly to fight with it. So I install a separate webcam for my meeting software. That way it is completely autonomous, and I just give it a panel to run on. It makes life so simple. Well, I do want to show you that setup just real quick before we start a meeting. I want to bring up the left-hand panel, and I think I'll go ahead and turn my little face off and pull up the Zoom software. And as I stated earlier, this is the audio and video configurations that I use. In video, I use a dedicated camera. I'm using this Logitech HD C615. I have another C615 in the shot above your head if I'm poking to it. That's the C615 up here as well. Now, I use, as far as audio goes, as we discussed in the previous video, I use Zoom Cable F. And I can remember Cable F, but it helps sometimes to have the function added in the label as well. So I know Zoom, and this is the only connection it has, is Zoom to OBS. Zoom to OBS. Now the microphone, I do have multiple. I have this microphone above me running to multiple programs, such as OBS, Zoom, and the audio program Odyssey, or Audacity, depending on how you pronounce it. It depends on where you put the emphasis on what syllable. Now that we have that set up, I'm going to start a meeting. I have an old laptop in the other room in front of the fireplace, and it's a very old webcam. It doesn't do HD, and it's going to be a bit grainy, so you'll have to forgive me on that. I just need 2 computers with live action so we can demonstrate this. And if you'll be patient, there'll be a video edit, and when we come back, we'll have an open meeting established in Zoom. Now that we have the meeting established, what I want to do is I want to maximize the fit to the screen, and I want to open up the participant window and the chat window. Because if I were set up for an ongoing meeting and I wanted somebody to join me, I would already have the meeting set up and do the invitation, and then they would come in. So there's just two of us. And what I would do is use the bottom. Let me go ahead and remove myself. I would use this for person-to-person communication. If I were working OBS Studio O as the engineer station, I could then use the kitchen Studio K for an actual interview studio, 2 mics, whatever, mix it up, use that setting, and this would function as my communication from my engineer to me in the kitchen, or vice versa. If somebody needs to scratch a nose or they want to bring up a topic a second time to really discuss it, maybe it made them think of something we forgot, it's a beautiful thing to have, is that ability to communicate silently that doesn't show up in your live stream or your recording. I mean, you can always talk and edit out and post, but it works just as well if you're running a live stream to have some way to communicate between the two parties. Now, I got that. Now, to integrate this into our system, I have another panel set up where we simply stretch out the left-hand panel. And I'll go over here. Let me show you that one more time. Switch back. I would just simply cut out, using this same configuration each time, where my guest is the biggest portion of the screen. I would just mask out this portion of it where the fireplace is shown, where you see the fireplace. I would cut my own self off. I don't really need to see me, but in this configuration, either you go full screen or you have this mode. There's another mode you could use, but this works just as well. If you like the picture-in-picture, you can change the view, but this is particular to Zoom. Now here we are side by side. That may work well for you from time to time, but when you do, you see you're streaming, you'll see your little arrow, your cursor running. You could do full screen. And then we have the big picture, and you have your picture-in-picture. Now, that is a feature of Zoom, like Skype would have that sort of thing. Well, let's show you how to potentially set up this screen. Well, I have a screen over here called the Zoom screen. And you should be able to see it if I switch into the center panel. It looks like I need to adjust that screen up just a tad. Now, the way we would do that is we would unlock our left panel that we have masked off and push it up just a little bit. See how it snaps in there? Holding the Alt key down gives us the ability to give us a little stretch. Now, it looks like we need to increase the scale, and that's with your finger off, you can stretch it. See, as we stretch, come on, stretch with me. And now we can recenter if it won't zoom, if it won't snap. There we go. Now, can you see that in the left-hand panel, that green there? To make your lines go away, simply lock that screen, and now when you run over it does not change. It's pretty straightforward. But at this point, we don't have the audio. But what we can do is go back up to File, Settings, Audio, go to Mic 3, Add, Zoom Cable F, hit Apply, hit OK. Can we hear the audio from Zoom playing? I'm going to go ahead and take that volume down a little bit, and I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to add 2 of them, a noise gate, and that helps keep the crosstalk back and forth Now there should be some software already in the anti-echoing feature of Zoom to take care of that, but we're also going to add a compressor and say OK. I'm going to save that. We're going to go back over to filters on mic 1, which is our Yeti, and we're going to do the same. We're going to add a noise gate. We're going to add a compressor. Keep that on there. That'll help us with the quality of our sound. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and rename this to Zoom Cable F. And that should take care of that. Now if we go back to our main screen, that should be the basics of getting Zoom hooked up into your system. Now my audio little loop was only a short bit and it has cut itself off. So we're doing pretty good. And well, no, it's still playing. It's still playing. May need to take that volume up a little bit, but it will time out. So we've proven that we can get audio from the other side. The thing we have to be careful with when we're trying to set this stuff up, if you test, and this is very important, if you test like I did with a laptop and it's in an adjacent room, you can get a really ugly case of slapback and you'll wonder where it came from. Is it coming from the system? Is Zoom failing us? What is going on with this? So remember, you need a degree of actual auditory separation between your two computers for it to work right. There's something else I think we might have time to do, and I want to bring this up because I did find an aberrant microphone open, although I thought I had all of them turned off. If we go down to, switch back, we go down to our main panel where we have our switch. Let me switch over to that left-hand panel. Now, we open up sound. In our setup here, when we go to playback devices, currently I have the speaker turned on. I would need to map that from the playback, the default playback device, to pull it down here to our cable device and set that as default. That will give us our system audio into OBS. But we also have a few other things. See, these are our cables, and I have LG. I'm picking up a microphone with it. And I have these other features that are turned on. Well, when I go to recording, you need to make sure that you have each one of your cameras turned off. There's one C615, the C920, the webcam, which is the Chinese one over to my left-hand corner behind me, the wide angle, the microphone, the other C615, and we want to turn all of those microphones off so that we're not getting any kind of crosstalk. Now we do have microphone front running because I actually use it in the line in. I use it with the telephone as we incorporated the telephone into this playback. So you need to check those to make sure they're there and to make sure that your mic, I have a Yeti, is set to be the default microphone. Now in the event that something came in here and it changed my default microphone to say one of these others that are disabled and it made it the system microphone, that's one of the benefits of going in here and selecting in your settings, your audio, to put your microphone in here rather than saying default. Does that make sense to you? Because otherwise you can end up with some really strange sounding stuff and have no clue what has happened to do that. And it can very easily happen when we change and update a simple software. So that's one of the reasons why we sprang for that little bit extra cost to get 5 cables. You're there, it's a credit card, get her done, and then you have the flexibility to use other things. And we're using 4 of them as it sits. The same way with the system sound. We go to playback. Yes, I have a hardware feature called rear speakers, and that's what I would play with any of my system sounds if I want to have them come out that. But if I want to be able to direct it from my system into an audio recorder or a video recorder, I need to be able to capture those sounds. That system cable will allow me to do that. I hope that makes some sense. And I want to appreciate you stopping by and listening. Now, this is not my preferred way to hook Zoom up. I do have a more, I think, useful way to do it, which when we get into scene sounds, you'll understand better. So I hope you have great luck with this. Your system will vary, and it's going to be almost impossible for me to diagnose any problems you would have if you were to ask the question. But I want to give you that little extra information. Thank you for watching.